FD RX-7's like a boat. The best one is the one your friend owns. What is up, Rad Potential YouTube? Welcome to this beautiful 1993 Mazda RX-7 in the best color ever, competition yellow mica. One of 350 cars in the US in this color. This is a US spec car. It has been repainted to its original color, but it is still CYM yellow and it is beautiful. My buddy Johnny put this car together over the past couple years and has literally created, in my opinion, and you guys will see the ad when this thing goes up for sale on Bring a Trailer, is the perfect FD. Aside from being a little bit dirty underneath the car, but not like bad or rusty or anything, is the perfect FD. It's got the best interior I've ever seen. The door panels don't creak that much. It's like everything is solid. The car drives fantastic, and it has all of the proper tasteful mods you would want to do to your RX-7, which leads us to the topic of this video. Is this car, is an FD RX-7 worth 100 grand? We saw one sell and Bring a Trailer a month or so ago from real time from this video. A black one, super low miles, sold for $105,000, and that's just insane to me. When I grew up, you know, and I'm not that old, but 7 or 8 years ago, these cars were 15 to 20 grand, and that was still outside of my price range. I could not afford one of these, so I had an FC, had first gens to get my rotary bug, but at the same time, it is insane that these have jumped up in price that much, and there's only one reason. It's a truly magical experience to get to drive an FD. You've got sequential turbos, you've got the rotary, you've got superior handling from a 90s Japanese market car, and they just look insane. They look like 100 grand. They look like they could be brand new. Especially this one, 99 spec front end, 99 spec rear, and it livens the car up. It makes it look newer than my Z06 Corvette, and it is enthralling to look at. You could just sit there and I could look at this thing spin around on a pedestal. Just a live stream YouTube video of it all day. I read somewhere that cars are only rare because nobody bought them when they were new. Nobody liked them. Well, in my world, that's not true. Because cars are rare if they're a homologated race car, rally car, the Ford RS-200. That car, there's only so many of them produced, not because Ford cared to sell them to you, but because Ford needed to make them so they could have a rally car. Same thing with this thing. There's a lot of RX-7s. These cars are really not that rare. There's a bunch of them in the world. However, if you look at the United States, there was only so many because we only got this car for 3 years effectively. We have 93, 94, and 95. And if you have a 95, they're super rare. I don't think there's more than 1,000 or so of those. But then you go down the Corvette owner path of, okay, let me spec out my car and we'll see how rare my spec is. So we've got competition yellow mica, one of 350. So that culmination of those things, only available for a few years, you get a really crazy color, is what is going to make this car, this yellow one, worth a lot of money. And that sets the price of the car, right? Numerically, you have price, but what gives the car value? What makes this car a Japanese icon? Is it the looks? I think it's part of it. Is it the fact that in the 90s, when all the Japanese manufacturers had their little gentleman's agreement of 276 horsepower, that this came in at 250 and pretty much, I would say, dominates most of those cars in a handling sense, at least around a racetrack? I would say this is probably one of the fastest ones. I'd have to go look up some times and stuff from back then. But if you took this, a Supra, 300ZX, Genesis GTR, and took them all to the track, I think that would be a super tight comparison. And I think the RX-7, for being what I would call the underdog with the least horsepower, would probably be one of the most fun and yet the most competitive car out of that bunch. So does that add value to this car's experience? I think it does. That of the era, this is one of the most highest performing cars of the 90s off the showroom floor that was attainable to the average person, right? I'm not talking about some weird Bugatti deal or Ferraris or this, that, and the other. And arguably, this thing probably outhandles a lot of those cars. But does this car compare to the likes of a car you could get for under 100 grand in this day and age. Under 100 grand right now will get you a lot of awesome cars. Corvette Z06s, the new C8 Corvette. A lot of good Porsches come in under 100 grand. The new Toyota Supra comes in under 100 grand. A bunch of BMWs. There is a slew of cars that I would say dominate the RX-7 in performance for under 100 grand. Straight up. But the RX-7 is its own thing. The RX-7 is such a unique experience that you don't buy this car for the horsepower. You don't buy this car for the performance value, how many lateral G's it can pull on a skid pad. You buy this car because driving this car and interacting with other people when you have this car is unlike any other car you could ever own. You take this car to a gas station, people will literally back their trucks into things trying to take pictures of your car. You take this thing to a car show and the whole car show is interested in it. Everyone loves to see a well-maintained, super nice FD RX-7. They're just cool. It's an icon. Everybody knows what it is. Plus, if you've ever had the opportunity to drive one of these things, it is just such a unique experience. Like, what other rotary-powered car has torque at 3,000 RPM? Well, that's because these sequential turbos come on super early, and it makes this epic power band. But that just adds to the fact that this car isn't just a car anymore. It's not a car you buy to go set records. It's not a car you buy to go keep up with your buddy's 997 Porsche GT3. Like, this car just won't do that. You're gonna spend the same amount of money, but this car won't do that. But what this car does is just take you back in time to a place where rotary experimental, people were pushing the envelope, trying new things, being totally different from all the other cars in the world. And they created something that is timeless and inspired so many other cars, inspired so many other people to get into cars, that I think it is worth 100 grand. I think these cars may not be $200,000 cars eventually, may not be $150,000 cars, but right now, the market's hot. This yellow car is hot. They're fun to drive. You gotta find you a nice rotary shop to help you keep yours alive if it's not stock. But this car will always be in the history books of auto manufacturing as one of the coolest, most unique, yet still performing on par for the era cars that exist. So with that, I hope you guys get to see this car and see other cars like this come up for sale, get driven, get used around where you guys are at. I hope you get to enjoy one of these cars in your lifetime. Find a buddy, find a friend, go ask some guy at a car show if you can get a ride along. Being able to experience at least a sliver of what the FD RX-7 is will add so much value to your life. And this car is a dream car for me, for a ton of people, and it's worth it. I think that if it is your dream car, you need to go ride in one, you need to go drive one, you need to do your research to experience what an FD owner goes through to make sure that this car stays reliable and stays on the road before you go out and buy one. But I will also say I learned rotary engines trial by fire. I just bought an RX-7 and had to figure it out. So if you can afford to get one of these, you can find one as a project, get one, restore it. I would love to see it on the road, and I would love to see your face smiling when you drive it. But for now, I'm gonna rip this back road and get this thing back to the shop before it rains. So with that, thank you guys very much for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one. Keep it rad and enjoy some RX-7 noises. I wouldn't say this thing digs out of corners like my Z06 does, but it is astoundingly awesome to feel sequential turbos come on at 3,000 RPM in a rotary. And compared to my RX-8 that you floor it and it doesn't do anything, this thing is awesome. Love stock sequential FDs. Love that I have a life where I can play with these and have friends that have these cars and they pay me to maintain them and I don't have to pay to maintain my own car. FD RX-7's like a boat. The best one is the one your friend owns. This car makes all the right noises for an FD. It's not too loud. It's comfortable. The interior doesn't make any weird noises either. And let me tell you, I don't think there's a better example of a 1993 Mazda RX-7 out there, other than maybe Johnny's white one. His other one is really nice as well. But I would challenge anyone who watches this video that has an FD RX-7 that this is one of the best, if not the best, compared to something that's just like all original. For a car that's been built how you would want it, this thing does everything you want it to do. 99 spec turbos, Power FC, updated nice interior, the Nardi wheel, the 94 trim, man, it's just the perfect FD. And it's yellow. And it's not painted yellow. It's originally yellow. It's beautiful. Peace, guys.